Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I'm sure you might notice I look a little different today. I don't have my eyebrows on yet because we are going to be doing a eyebrow tutorial today. So basically, I'm sure you already saw from the title, we are doing a mini makeover for the eyebrows. So I started this series a while ago on my channel and I've just had so much going on that I have not had a chance to create a second video. But my first video I did do a contour tutorial, and the whole idea behind this series is they are meant to be like the mini makeovers that are performed at Sephora at the beauty studio. As you guys know, I used to work at Sephora. I did a lot of mini makeovers. I was trained on how to do those mini makeovers, and I thought it would be fun to kind of share the information here on my channel. I know a lot of you don't have a Sephora near you, so you're not able to go in and experience a mini makeover, and some of you have a Sephora, but you may not feel comfortable going in and having someone apply makeup, so this is a way to kind of do it at home. So as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about brows today. Now, when you're in store getting a mini makeover, the way that Sephora does it, or the employees are trained to do a mini makeover, is we do like one side of the face, and as we're doing it, we explain to you what we're doing and how to accomplish the look, so that way you can do it yourself at home, and then we give you the product and have you do the other side. The reason that they do this is, first of all, to spend less time with the clients, because we have to service other clients while we're also servicing the beauty studio, so it's a way to free us up to check on other clients. But another reason for it is that it is a chance for you to test it out, so if you run into a problem or have a question as you're going along, you're still in the store, so you can ask the employee. Last time I kind of explained that, everybody was like, well, what if you really need help? Will they help you? Yes, of course the employee will help you, but they'll really encourage you to do it yourself. So they might like give you some tips or watch you do it and say, oh, try it like this or hold the pencil this way, but they're not likely to jump in and just do it for you, because it's really meant for you to learn how to do it, and the only way to learn is by practice. Of course, they're not gonna make you walk out with like two totally different eyebrows, so if you really just can't get it in store, they will help you, master it. But so like I said, we are going to be doing an eyebrow mini makeover. For today's video, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Brow Wiz. This is my holy grail. It's the one that I find the easiest to use if you are new to filling in your brows. I feel like it's just easy. It's user-friendly, it's easy, it works well, it stays in place, all of that jazz. I'm using the shade Taupe today. Usually I like the shade Caramel better, but I happen to be out of that one and I had a shade Taupe, so that's what I'm using. But yeah, you can use whatever product that you have. I'm going to be showing you with a pencil today, but it really is the same concept whether you're using a pencil, a powder, or a pomade. The only difference is, obviously if you're using a pomade or a powder, you're going to need to use some sort of a brush to apply it rather than the pencil, but it's the same concept. So this is what we're going to be using today, but like I said, whatever you have is going to work fine. So what I like to do is I like to take the spoolie first and kind of comb through the eyebrows, especially if you've already done the rest of your makeup. You might have some like foundation stuck in there. So just kind of comb through them, and then you can see the shape of your eyebrows a little better as well. So for my eyebrows, I'm gonna get kind of close. Let me actually zoom you in a bit. So for my eyebrows, as you can see, they are fairly sparse and blonde, and their shapes are pretty different. In general, if I were to step way back, the shape looks like it's fairly similar. I'm gonna be looking in the viewfinder a lot as well, you guys, just so I can make sure you are in focus. But in general, the shape is pretty much the same, but as you can see, like I have a big bald spot in this one. This one doesn't start as far over as this one starts. This one I have kind of like a dip right here. So yeah, I mean, they're not exactly the same. So the whole point of filling your eyebrows is to, first of all, fill in any places where you might have a gap or a hole like I have, but also to kind of even out the brows. Now, one thing to keep in mind about your eyebrows is they are not meant to look identical, and it's almost impossible to get them to be perfectly symmetrical. So don't beat yourself up and don't be like going back and forth trying to even them out, because most likely they are not going to be completely even. So there's that saying, I think they're supposed to be cousins, not sisters, or something like that, or sisters, not twins. whatever the phrase is, you know what I'm talking about. So, all right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick an eyebrow to begin on. I'll go ahead and start on this eyebrow. This eyebrow happens to be a little fuller than my other brow. And what we're gonna do is almost like outline the brow first. So that makes it easier to see where you fill. Because if you're just gonna start filling in, you're not gonna get the same shape on both sides unless your eyebrows happen to grow in the same shape. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of outline. So I always start at the beginning of the brow, and you can fake it. Like with this brow, I have to fake a little over because it's a little sparser here. I do have a few like tiny hairs here, but the main part of my brow doesn't really begin till about here on this side. But what you do is you kind of see where you want to start it. Now, if you want some mapping advice real quick before we start tracing, if you want some mapping advice, I recently saw someone do a good video about it. Oh, it was Wayne Goss recently did a video about mapping, but really, truly, you gotta look at your face because everyone's face is a little different, and if you just try to follow the general rules, most of the time it's gonna work for most people, but it's not gonna work for everyone. So it really does depend on your face, and you can play with your shape of your brow until you find the one that flatters you the most. But in general, if you come from straight up from your tear duct, that's about where you want your brow to begin. You can go a little further in, or just depending. I wouldn't go too much further this way. You can go a little further closer to your nose if you have kind of a wide set eye, but I wouldn't go too far this way. But in general, you're gonna wanna start right about where your tear duct starts. That's about where you're gonna begin. And then as far as the arch of your brow, my brow has a fairly large arch naturally, so I just kind of follow my natural arch. But if your eyebrow is pretty straight and you're wanting to kind of create an arch, there's a few different things that you can do. You can either have your pencil like come at the corner of your nose like this, and then that will kind of tell you where your arch should be right there. That should be the top of your arch. If that doesn't work for you, because again, it depends on the size of your nose. If your nose is not very narrow, if it's a wider nose, then you might be way out here, you know. So you have to look at your face to kind of determine it. Then as far as the tail, you don't want to go too far past, like if you take your pencil from the corner of your eye, that you don't want to go too far past that point with the tail. This is all subjective. It really depends on your eyebrow shape and your face shape. One more quick tip before we begin on the actual tracing out of the brow. What I like to do with my eyebrows is I pluck after I fill. The reason that I do that is because I can clearly see which brows do not fit in. It's, you know, one of these things is not like the other kind of situation. So after you fill in your brow, if you have some brows that you're like, that's sticking a little further out from my brow shape that I want to create, then you can pluck from there. Right now, full brows are really in, so you want to be careful not to over pluck. So I kind of err on the side of leaving it if I'm not sure if I want to remove it or not, because eyebrows take a while to grow back. So let's go ahead and begin now with the actual filling in of the brow. So like I said, we're going to be doing some tracing. I have a little mirror here, so I'm going to kind of be looking back and forth between the viewfinder and the mirror because I noticed I keep going out of focus. But what I'm going to do is start right where I want it to begin. I'm going to start underlining. And when you're doing this, be very careful not to have your eyebrow lifted because that'll change the shape of your brow. Make sure that your eye is at rest. And then I'm gonna go ahead and underline the first part of my brow. Now, I'm not going past where it starts to arch at all. I'm right now just doing the first like 1/3 of my brow where it's nice and kind of straight. Now the thing about eyebrows, you can really create any shape that you want. I personally like to follow my natural brows because I feel like they flatter my face the best, and I think for most people that's true. So if you follow your natural shape and you don't like the way your brow looks, then you can definitely look up photos on Instagram and see what kind of brows you like and then kind of play with drawing on that shape. Okay, so now that I have that first little bit outlined, you can see it's creating a lot of structure so I can see where I need to fill from here. Now I'm going to go ahead and trace out from the arch down to the tail of my brow. So for this, again, you want kind of a straight line. As you notice, I'm not picking up my pencil a whole lot. I'm doing kind of a straight line for this tracing portion. Once we start filling, we will be picking up the pencil a lot more. So I'm just doing an outline of the bottom of the brow right now. So that's kind of the general shape for the bottom of the brow. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to trace out the top of the brow, because as you can see, the shape is not very flattering right now for the top of my eyebrow. For this one, we wanna begin right about here, close to where the arch on the bottom is beginning, because this front part we wanna leave more feathered. So I'm gonna go ahead and start tracing that out. Okay, and now everything inside of that I want to fill in. So this part you're gonna want to do lots of little tiny strokes. So you can see I'm just kind of picking it up a lot. And the reason I'm doing that is as you're doing that, you're creating little lines that mimic hair. If your line is too long, you're gonna see like a long line, and you'll be able to tell that it's not natural. So if you do lots of little strokes, it looks like actual hair that you're drawing on the skin around your brow. Okay, so that's kind of the tail. And then you come back and you can feather out the front. So for this one, you just wanna do a little bit more of a light hand with it. You don't wanna overfill the front half so that it looks a lot more hair-like and a lot more natural, like those are just natural hairs growing in an upwards pattern, and always upwards here. This one we're kind of drawing, following the shape of our brow, and at the front, to create the feathered look, you're just kind of going straight up with it. So that's kind of the basics to it. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then I'll show you how I kind of even things out. Okay, so now as you can see, I have this brow filled in, and then I kind of look back and forth and I'm like, okay, what is kind of off? So like this one, I feel like maybe it needs to be a little fuller right here on the tail, so I'll kind of do that. And then you just kind of look back and forth and be like, oh, is this one a little bit more curved and this one's a little bit more boxy? And you can kind of go back and forth and get it how you like it. But like I said at the beginning, keep in mind it's never gonna be identical. Another trick is if you feel like your line got a little bit too harsh and you're like, oh, I think this part is a little too harsh. Take your spoolie and comb through it, and it softens up the lines and blends in better with your eyebrow. So that's something you can do to kind of soften it up. All right, and then the last step would be from here, you can add a brow gel. If you feel like your brows get unruly throughout the day and they don't stay in place, you could definitely add a brow gel. I don't find that I need it, and I don't recommend it unless you feel like you actually need it. And then you can go ahead and grab some tweezers and clean up any eyebrows around, you know, the filled part of your brow that you want to remove. But that's pretty much it, you guys. It's fairly easy. It's mostly about kind of mapping out your natural brow, tracing it in, and then just filling from there. So pretty simple. It does take practice though. I mean, I know it looks really, really easy, but the first time, it took me a long time to get the technique down, and even still there's days, like I think I filmed a video a couple days ago where one eyebrow looked so different than the other eyebrow, and that just happens sometimes. And especially if your eyebrow shapes are very different, sometimes it takes a lot of tweaking to get them to look right. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. My eyebrows are often very different, but that's just the way that it is. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial today. If you have any questions, any comments, leave me those down below and I'd be happy to answer those for you. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.